There's a reason they say if you have 9 overweight, broke, or drunk friends, you're likely the 10th one, right? You surround yourself with those people. And so you have to change your environment because they will pull you back down. They not only won't encourage you, they will relentlessly discourage you from moving forward because you are reminding them of the action they're not taking in their own life.
If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, I think you're going to really enjoy it. But I want to let you know, we are now, and we have been for a while, on all of the audio platforms. So you can go check us out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and listen to us in your ear while you're working out, driving, or going for your daily walk or run. Enjoy the show. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Lunch Break. I'm here with my new friend, John Thompson, with Thompson Fitness, local to Bakersfield, California, and Limitless Online Fitness. Over the past 14 years, John has helped over 3,000 people to accomplish their health, fitness, and training goals.
Not at the same time.
Not all at the same time, no.
Yes, but just using all
over the past
methods.
14
yes,
years.
I love that.
So John, I don't have a 100% success rate, so I wouldn't say all 3,000 actually. I may have not helped all of them.
John,
well, you've helped them to some degree, right?
Hopefully.
What is that, John? I mean, it's interesting that we're just jumping right into this. That people, I went to the gym today and got on nothing I wanted to get on. And it's because it's first of the year. So did your phone ring off the hook first of the year? And I got all these realistic goals, or they give you a pie in the sky they want you to try to hit?
I actually go for the anti-promotion the first couple of weeks of January because I kind of want them to maybe go take your equipment first at the regular gym, and then when they realize they need help with coaching, they'll come to me later on. Yeah. So our January is more like February.
I like that.
So we I don't do a big push hey, January 2nd we're gonna do this, because I don't, not to say everyone's riffraff, but there is a group of very non-dedicated something dopamine spikes after Christmas, and they want to do it, and I would rather not work with them.
They got to work off the holiday weight, except for they're there for 2 weeks and gone.
Yeah.
It is by the third week of January. The stats change every couple of years, but it's always, every study you see, it's third week of January, second week of February, it's 87% are out.
Well, and I appreciate what you do, and we're going to go into that in-depthly on Muscle Matters, another episode. So tell us how your journey led you to what you're doing. Did you always see yourself being at this point, and this is what I was going to do? I mean, when we're playing boys, we're playing with our Tonka trucks or our G.I. Joes. Did you say, hey, that's where I want to go? Or how did you get there? What was that process like for you?
I kind of did know early. I was such a weird kid, and I watched Total Gym commercials and Bowflex commercials, and the infomercials, the 30-minute ones. So Chuck Norris, and on the Total Gym and the Bowflex, there was Dr. L. Darden was on that, and I've read his books, and he's great. But
did you watch John Little? Remember John on the Stairmasters? He was a friend of mine. He won the Mr. Florida.
Okay.
It was hard for me to watch.
I don't know if that is the same John Little that. There is a John Little in fitness I follow, but I don't know if he did that for sure.
Well, anyway. I'm just teasing you, John. It's okay. It was hard for me to watch.
Has he authored any books, this John Little?
I think he has. He had a ponytail and was long, and it was the 80s, and everybody was trying to do their niche, So it was just a dig at John.
So I was really into fitness. I did gymnastics from 7 to 11, raced motocross, raced mountain bikes. I always trained for all this, really self-motivated to train outside of the sport I was in to increase my fitness capacity for them. So it was more sports related, but I was already kind of nerdy when it came to fitness stuff at that age. That was 7, 8 years old. I had those 30-minute infomercials memorized.
I love that.
So that was weird.
I love that.
Then I had a friend that was, I never really did bodybuilding. It was more just kind of fitness stuff, endurance and training for my sport. But then at 14, I started bodybuilding with a friend, and that was the first time I got really, really into weightlifting. And that really kind of changed it. By 18, 19, I was certified. I only had one job that was outside of fitness. I turned 18, I worked at FedEx, and I hated that, and did it for, I think, 13 months. And then I worked at 24 Hour Fitness, worked at a wellness center, and then opened my gym my month of my 21st birthday. So I've been self-employed since then.
Oh.
Wow, that's
well,
impressive.
Being single-minded in fitness. I mean, I think sometimes my journey was by happenstance, but I think somebody's journey like yours, with a driven goal. I love the fact that you were watching when you were 7. I mean, it's like I was watching other knucklehead things when I was 7.
Right.
But you were, and I think that's why you're successful sometimes. Did you have a kind of a thought like, hey, this could turn into something? I mean, there again, you had the thought for bodybuilding, and you went down that rabbit hole, and a lot of people do. But then you saw fitness as more. I mean, but you saw it as a business, right? I mean, something that you could help people. Did you have that general sense, like, I want to help people reach their goals?
When I was younger, it was just about fitness for sports. I wanted to be a pro motocross racer for sure, at least till I was probably 15 or 16. After that, it was mainly just personal. I trained my first client for free when I was 17. I remember that session. So I coached her, and then when I started working at FedEx, I was like, it'd be a lot cooler to tell girls I'm a personal trainer than a dock worker at FedEx. No offense if you're a dock worker at FedEx, but I hated that job already. So yeah, then I got certified and really dove deep into making it. I never thought it would be, in the beginning, I didn't think it would be a business. I thought I would go more into I was kind of interested in real estate back then. So I thought I would do it for a couple of years, then probably get out. But then I really liked it and got together with some other good business coaches and started going to events and conferences. And then I was actually the youngest owner of a fitness franchise that launched called Fit Body Boot Camp years and years ago. It was 2010. And within a year, I was one of the most successful franchisees. So I spoke at the World Conference for that. And most of the people in the audience were like old enough to be my parents. And so that was interesting. So that's really when it started to take off. And really, I wasn't like a business genius or anything. We just did what we said we were going to do. We helped people and got them results, and word spread. But I've studied marketing, studied sales, and that is a majority of the success as well. You can't just, if you get people results, but no one knows about you, knows where you are, you have to be able to market and sell yourself and sell your protocol of what you do and why you're different than any other fitness program. So you got to have a unique selling proposition.
And we're going to dive into that on Muscle Matters.
Yeah, you're going to do that this whole episode probably. So.
Yeah. But we're going to catch at different angles. Right, Mike?
Yeah, no, for sure. So at what point did you get into the online marketing world?
Man, I announced it, I think, in like 2018 that I was launching Limitless. I had the name and everything. I've had the domain since like 2012. So I knew I wanted to do it. I actually had the idea of online coaching before I opened my studio.
So you were ahead of your time.
So in 2008, I remember I bought my first MacBook. I was like, I'm going to do online coaching, but it was so hard back then. There was no apps. There wasn't ways to host your like exercise demonstrations for online clients.
Yeah. Zoom hasn't been created yet.
There was there was nothing. There was no platform back then. There was like one site called like High Tech Trainer or something, and it was a little bit flimsy. Like the initial like big box gyms tried to do online training back in the day, and they wanted to use like Palm Pilots to like have people walk around the gym with them. So it was nuts. So the technology is so much better. So really, Limitless, the online coaching, which I'm sure we'll get to in Muscle Matters, that has been like 13 years in the making. So I announced again in January 2020 that I was launching it that year, and then 2 months later, COVID happened. We had to deal with all of the shutdowns with the gyms and all of the propaganda around that. And then, and that was just like, it was like 18 months of dealing with that because they closed us, opened, closed us again. And literally every gym that followed California guidelines to the T filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is
reorganization.
Yeah. So not that they closed down for sure, but they were.
Well, you know what they call Chapter 11, Chapter 22, because you're usually going into it twice, and then you're then you're on Chapter.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it is. It is. I used to do bankruptcy. So tell us how John Thompson got through that, because that was a tough time for even churches. You know, there's some things I've been doing regarding churches, and I was talking to a denomination, and we're going to be working with them, and they have 35 churches in the greater Phoenix area, and 34 are closed from pandemic. It was just a staggering
They're still
number.
closed now?
Yes. Staggering number. So how did John Thompson see that and then formulate a program? Because I did notice that you said something interesting. You said, if you followed protocol. So how did John Thompson stay open during that time?
That was the hardest navigation of business ever. I opened in the Great Recession. People told me I was opening my studio in 2009, which 2008 it happened, but 2009 is when everyone was actually getting laid off. So I would like sign people up, and they would get fired like a week later and then have to cancel. And that was not as hard. So the 2008-9 recession was when I opened. So if I opened in that economy, I was like, I can make it through any economy. I think there was 2014, 2016 oil crashes. We went through that, and there's always been we've felt it a little bit, but not crazy. So So I've always navigated, but no one prepares to go to zero in one day, right? Yeah. So they say business operators should have, 3-6 months of cash in reserves. Well, business owners, good ones, do that, but they do that for bad months, not closing their business. If you're closing your business down, it's because you're going out of business. You don't close your business for any reason whatsoever. That's never happened before.
Right.
So there was zero way to prepare for that at all, except to have tons of cash on hand, which, we're one location. I have online. We're not like, killing. And even businesses, even 24-hour fitness, it's international. They filed Chapter 11 by following the protocol, by following the lockdown. So navigating that was really hard. That mentally, emotionally was the hardest, absolutely the hardest time to go through. No doubt.
How did you keep yourself, not only your family but your clients, head above water?
So we launched. We had about a week. So this is actually separate from the actual online coaching I do. We basically pivoted in a week to all of our clients being online, and so we had daily releases of workouts filmed, my wife and I in the house with lighting, microphones, everything. Like we had to do it quickly.
Your house turned into a gym.
Yeah, exactly. And we had to be very creative with, what can people use at their house? Because I don't know if you looked for buying equipment back then, it was insane.
Oh, you couldn't. Yeah. You couldn't unless you were getting extorted.
I literally saw on like Marketplace on Facebook with someone I think would just find like stuff behind their washing machine and try to sell it. There was like a purple 8-pound dumbbell, a black 10-pound dumbbell, like an orange 14.
But that
they're all
market,
$300.
Just like the shutdown, like overnight, like went from like reasonable to like 4 times the price.
Yeah, like Titan Fitness and a lot of these online websites that shoot more for residential use instead of commercial use for equipment, all like double, tripled their business within months. It was insane. So the used market was crazy. The actual brand new equipment market was insane because they couldn't get stuff from, a ton of that stuff comes from China. So they couldn't get it fast enough. They couldn't manufacture it quick enough. So I had people calling me from like LA and Fresno, like all around. They're like, I'll travel there today. Do you have dumbbells? Do you have any?
You're a gym, and of course you want to sell it. Yeah. You're like, no, I don't.
Yeah. I'm never opening it again, maybe. So maybe I should sell this stuff now. I did contemplate selling all of our dumbbells because they were selling for like $3 a pound.
Oh,
which
it was
is
gold.
Insane.
It was gold.
Yeah. So is that market still like that now?
No, absolutely not.
So it lasted. Gone back down.
Yeah, it lasted probably until about mid 2021 because people were still nervous to go places, so they were still purchasing, but. No, it's pretty.
It's back to reasonable.
I would say it's bigger than it was before, and I think it will stay bigger. I think it did open up a new market of people. Yeah, like even back to the Total Gym Bowflex stuff. It's like there's always been a home market, but most of those pieces of equipment end up in the laundry room with clothes hanging on them. Now you have Tonal, you have VoxFit, you have all these different Mirror, all these different
and
equipment.
Who's the big one that Peloton? They blew up during that.
Peloton kind of proved market for that industry, that people would pay high dollar amount for something if they actually would use it. But I don't know if we want to get into that, but there's been a shift of how they sell workout equipment where they basically lose money or break even on the cost of the equipment.
It's a loss
and they
leader.
Get you on the subscription, right? Their subscription, their churn rate's like super low. Like the retention's high because if you buy a $3,000 or $4,000 piece of equipment and 3 months later you cancel the $20 a month subscription, you're admitting that you just wasted $3,000. Like you're fully committing that I'm not going to use it. So
they're losing money on the equipment sale.
Yeah, it's kind of like you look at like gaming back in the day. Like Xbox was like the first company to release a box where they lost $100 station because they knew that gaming was all the money and that gaming turning into streaming like Netflix for video games was going to be big, and the gaming industry is huge. It's like $70 billion. So fitness has kind of taken that key of like, hey, we're going to just get them to get the equipment in their home.
But it's still a lot of money for the average consumer.
Yeah, now that you have like Affirm and all these payment options, or someone can buy it for like $49 a month over 3 years with no interest or whatever, that's changed the game a lot because they look at that as, okay, I can cancel my gym membership and get this. I'm not really out any more money. Yeah, it's still $3,000, but I don't got to pay it all up front.
It's not the same as a gym membership either.
Right.
But.
Well, I tell all my friends that are looking for equipment now, and Mike's heard me say this all the time. I'll say, hey, look for a yard sale, drive down the street, look for things that have clothes on them. Go in and buy the bar, but do not buy the weights. The wife will not let you leave the property without giving you the weights because she's tired of moving them.
I just want the bar.
And they're like, no, please take everything. It's the funniest thing. So that's a life hack or fitness hack if you want to use that. So I've been telling you how long, Mike?
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Year.
Oh yeah, because wives, they're like, the 45-pound place we can't put our fingers under, you
Right.
know? And so it's like, take it, please.
So how long did it take you with the online stuff for that to actually take off and be like go from, hey, I'm a local brick and mortar to now I'm an online coaching and doing all that for that to be successful? And because I know there's economies and marketing and all that stuff, right? So
During the COVID pivot or Limitless?
just in general, Limitless, yeah.
Limitless has that's so niche specific that does take a bit. You got to build up an audience. You got to run ads directly for it. So the COVID pivot was easy because that was 100% all of our in-person clients just shifted to that during that 3 months of
So did you just
complete
push all
lockdown.
the Thompson Fitness over to Limitless? Is that or did
No,
you?
sorry. So Limitless is like a completely different branding model than Thompson Fitness.
Sure.
It's a totally different clientele
Sure.
base, and it's men only.
So you kept like basically two different online kind of things.
Yeah,
going.
that's been actually the biggest challenge with it is that everyone, if they're friends with me on Facebook or follow our business page or follow me on Instagram, I've had to make, so John Thompson, that Instagram is like specifically for men,
Thompson
the content
Fitness.
for men, actually the opposite. So I have
okay.
a Thompson Fitness Instagram page, it's just for Thompson Fitness. My John Thompson Facebook, like my actual person, is kind of both, so it's a little hard to navigate. So I have a Thompson Fitness Facebook page, Thompson Fitness Instagram page. My John Thompson Instagram page is more for Limitless, so I make all the content for men,
Okay.
for that type of man who's
That's your personal
interested in
branding
that.
page.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
So I've had to keep them separate. So it's hard because a lot of local people follow me on my John Thompson Instagram page, and they're like, "Hey, I want to get some training at your facility. I think you only train men now," because like what it says in the
Yeah.
bio, but that's only for Limitless. So it's been
So
it's
which
been challenging.
which one does more volume? Like volume,
Yeah.
like which one's
Yeah,
more
that's fine.
profitable?
The gym it's been 13 years, right? So I have more
Yeah.
clients doing that.
Okay.
Online's to a degree infinitely scalable though.
Of course.
Your only limit would be how many people you can coach at a time, and then you would bring on a assistant coach,
Sure.
and you can expand. You can bring on another one and expand another one. There's also two types of online people kind of think, is that like a $7 a month membership, or is it a $200 program? Ours is more of a higher ticket and actual personal coaching program through it. So ours is more expensive than that.
Yeah. I won't ask you prices on air.
Yeah,
But
that's fine. So it is that's a very personal online coaching experience. Like they're not just getting an ebook or a login to a site. They are getting those things, resources,
Yeah.
but they're getting coaching and accountability through me on a weekly and sometimes daily basis to keep them
Yeah.
on
And
toes.
there's probably, and I know on Ministry Matters, we'll talk more about your philosophy and belief and faith factor, but I think you're probably giving them some life coaching too.
Oh, absolutely.
You're into their life. I mean, it's like, hey, you don't just have a coach. You've got not a friend, but maybe you have somebody that can help you navigate some of life's truly harder subjects to.
Well, I
deal
think that's a large part of just the online stuff in general, and I'll let you speak to that. But it's just building that. Like, yes, it's like what you're selling, but the community is what keeps people there, right? So,
Yeah, with online coaching, they're only paying you for information, right? In person, you actually, so funny thing is online clients get better results than in-person clients, and you think it'd be the opposite, and it's not, because an in-person client can come in and know, not talking bad about any of my clients I have, but they come in and the value is that they're coaching with me in person. Advice I give them or life coaching advice or anything else, they might take that as kind of secondary, like, oh, that's John's opinion on this. I'm really paying for this in-person coaching experience, where a lot of value I give them is how to live their life outside of the gym, because I'm only with them for that short period of time in the gym. They can mess it up a lot more outside of that time frame, where a Limitless client knows they're not going to see me, so they value 100% every single thing I say, because that's the only thing they're paying me for.
well, and you're built up as more of an authority, especially if you're selling high ticket. And
Yeah, you're automatically more of a guru online when someone hasn't met you in person. They've only seen you through video, they've only seen you through social media
like the
or
people
YouTube.
in person kind of discount that to a degree, even though it's the same. You're the same person, but
Yeah, what's it that you're not the wise man like in your hometown.
Yeah,
you
when
know,
they
you
say,
grow up there.
well,
Yeah.
a prophet isn't what the Bible say. A prophet's not appreciated in his hometown.
Right.
Jesus said that. So,
so how much?
good, you're following some good business advice.
Yeah.
How much does the faith element, and we'll talk more about that on Ministry Matters, but you can just answer the question now. How much does the faith element come into the like Limitless or Thompson Fitness or both?
Mm-hmm. I try to represent it in personal excellence in all I do in every aspect of my life, but in Limitless, it's more of a centerpiece because, interesting, what did you say your three F's were for this?
Family, faith, and freedom.
Yeah, so
freedom
Limitless.
in Christ, but it can be in other things too.
So Limitless, we have what's called the 5 realms, which is force, foundation, fitness, fortune, family. So force is the center of it, though, and force stands for your life force, your spiritual ascension, basically. Without that, we kind of describe that as a life wheel. So if you look at force or the spirit being the hub of the wheel, foundation of the mind, fitness of the body, fortune of your wealth creation, your production as a man, and your family relationships. All those are spokes, and all those can break. If you've ever seen a broken spoke, excuse me, on a wheel, you can, I race motocross, you could have a loose spoke, it could puncture your tube, but you could make it, right? If a hub collapses, though, the wheel unravels in on itself completely. So it doesn't matter how strong the financial spoke is, the relational spoke, your fitness, your body, anything. If the spirit man breaks down, his entire life crumbles on itself. So with force, with force inside of Limitless, we are looking at the spiritual side of the man and saying, why do you do the things you do? Why do you make these decisions? Of all the years of coaching, if someone ever lost, say, 50 pounds with me and then disappears and I see them at Target and they're 70 pounds heavier again, that's never because they forgot what to do. It's never that because the exercise and the eating, they forgot how to work out or they forgot how to eat. No, I was coaching them how to do that. Something from one of the other realms pulled them out of the fitness. And it typically is in the spiritual, something happens, right? They're overstressed. Now they're self-sedating through other mechanisms, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, something, and it pulls them out, and now their life is collapsing in on itself, and they've got to unravel that again. So force is a very big centerpiece. It literally is the centerpiece. We have a crest of our brand of the logo, and it's force is in the middle, and then it's foundation, fitness, fortune, and family on the corners, because that represents the wheel, and that it is the center, that it is the hub. And without that, you can have big muscles and a small wallet. You can be single. You can be married. All of those things. But if the spirit breaks, you're toast.
And in 1 Thessalonians 5:23, it talks mind, body, spirit, and you're incorporating those things into what you do. I think that's solid. I love that thought.
So he's gonna punch me if I don't ask you a question here.
We can't get paid if you don't do this, Mike.
So
and I want to get paid.
So John, what is something that everybody doesn't know about you?
Oh man, nothing profound probably.
And you don't have to tell us where the skeletons are buried.
This is probably just lame, but if they don't know, is that when I watched the Total Gym and Bowflex commercials, I was also obsessed with vacuum infomercials. I really liked vacuums as a kid, so maybe I could have ended up being like a Kirby salesman or something.
Really, what part of that? What part of that was inspiring to you?
I had to vacuum.
Really?
I was homeschooled. I had 3 older sisters. I was the only boy. My mom said I was better at it than all of them. So we had a very large living room and a pretty big house, and I had to do all the vacuuming.
You said you were the oldest?
Youngest.
Oh, you're the youngest.
3 older sisters than me, yeah.
How did that work? Because I can imagine that vacuuming from you as being a man was a race.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But I didn't leave anything unturned. Like I would lift the couch up, I would roll the rug up and do it, and my sisters would just kind of pivot around the room.
But you didn't have older brothers?
No.
Okay.
No.
So there's something about, and because I'm the oldest in my family, I have a younger brother and a younger sister, and then I have another son, same name, who's the oldest. There's something about being, the boy, especially the oldest boy. That's just like you have to prove something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And I see where my deficiencies are, being not only the only boy but the youngest one, as far as from a leadership standpoint. I had to read leadership books in my late teens and 20s because I knew that I wanted to do
what are your favorite leadership books?
Mm-hmm.
I forget the titles. Like John Maxwell books have been good.
I've read a lot of John Maxwell.
He gives
Jocko.
We have a thing. He'll give me a book and I'll read it in like 2 days, right?
Oh, he does. And I give him books all the time.
Because I love books, but it's always like a challenge. He'll give me a book because he's already read it and wants to know more than me. That's just the way he's wired.
I love that you said Jocko, though. So that's one of our core values in our company is extreme ownership.
Yeah.
So that's a very good book.
I'm literally blanking on. I have ones that are Jesus as a leader, like so many, and I'm forgetting the exact titles. I want to throw them out there, but that was one of my biggest deficiencies, I would say, because you can't not be a middle child. If you're a middle child, you can't not be the youngest. Like my entrepreneur side, I think is a big factor for me being the youngest child, because I was the only boy, I was the youngest, and I wasn't a problem for my parents, and they'll attest to that. So I never had a problem with authority from people I knew deserved to tell me what to do. So I was a good kid for my parents. I was an easy child, but the first time I got a job at FedEx, I couldn't stand having supervisors and bosses tell me what to do when they didn't when I figured out a way to do it better than them. I didn't like not having that option to do it the way I wanted to do it. And that's not a good trait for an employee, because you got to go follow. Like, I fully admit that now, that's you've got to follow protocol. But that is why I wanted to go in entrepreneurship, because even when I worked in big box gyms, I was always asked what they thought I was going to do that month as far as revenue goes. Never once did a supervisor or a club owner or a manager ever ask me, how are the results going with your clients? Are you getting clients' results? I was never asked that one single time. Never my training style, nutrition style. And I was the top salesman of the club I was in. And they just thought, I guess it was because I sold better or something, but it was also because my clients actually got results, and they don't teach trainers. And that's why the whole corporate industry training has fallen apart. You hardly see big box gyms that do a lot of personal training anymore, because they don't know how to coach them to get results.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of them don't do it.
They don't do
all.
it anymore. It's barely worth the hassle.
They want you to stay in the gym an hour and a half. They're not worried about the quality of the hour and a half.
It's so low revenue. The gym makes so little money from personal training, from the overall transactions of the memberships. Planet Fitness, for example, I don't know if this is 100% true. I read this, but they have a 92% inactive membership base.
Well, that's where they make all their money.
Right, and that's where every gym does. And even some that tout they have a higher membership, active membership base, some of their standards are like, if you use the gym 3 times a month, it's an active member, right? So they'll say, we have a 70% active member. I'm like, yeah, but really most of your members are inactive. And that makes sense from a business model. You don't use the toilet paper, you don't run out the treadmill belt, you don't drop the dumbbells, you don't get anything dirty.
Yeah, they're oversubscribing on purpose.
So basically they've set up a transaction business where they have thousands of credit cards being dinged each month, and there happens to be this centerpiece building you could go visit if you want to, but really it's just a transaction business. So our model is the opposite. No one pays us long term if they're not getting results, because it's more expensive. But you will go, they find the sweet spot of how much can we charge, but it's little enough that they won't bother coming in to sign the cancellation. Right? They don't let you send an email because that's too easy. You got to come in, talk to a manager, and sign something.
And that's also why they have the onboarding fee to keep you from. That's another barrier, right?
Exactly, and the yearly maintenance fee for the gym. Some of them have 2 of those now. I was talking to a guy yesterday that moved down south. He's all, my gym has a twice a year maintenance fee. So it's just they get you with this lower end membership base price, but then there's all these different upsells afterwards. Again, we're digressing pretty much onto business models of gyms I don't own.
But that's okay, because that's what you're passionate about, and that's what we like people to be out there and be.
It's easy for me to nerd out about business stuff too.
And what I like about it is you do have a purpose, which feeds passion. People always tell me this, and if you're out there looking for passion, you're not going to find passion for passion's sake. You need a purpose. Purpose fuels the passion. You just can't say, oh, I'm going to be passionate today. What about? Well, I don't know. I'm just going to be passionate. but I mean, when you got a purpose, and you have that purpose of, I want to give the clients value for what they're giving me, and then you're doing that. You've got a passion for that, and you can see it. It oozes out of every comment that you make. I like that, John. I really do.
We do call in Limitless. We have the description of the guy's life goal, where he's going, and it's called the purpose path. So we look at end game, which is the very end. So what's the end game is you at your funeral. What's happening? So let's reverse engineer. What would you want? How would you want to die at the end? Like, how do you want end game? Now, how do you want your life now into the future? Take the end first, and let's reverse engineer that. And who would you have to be now, or who would you have to become to be that person at the time? That's the end, because that is what drives someone long term. And again, that's more of a fitness coaching thing, but there is a way to connect long-term goals to short-term behavior.
Well, you know what it is too, because we're all people of faith here, and I've been in the ministry now 28 years, done 500-600 funerals. I always tell people that are listening to my voice, you can adapt some of these methods to make your life more effective. We're talking about people's lives. We're hearing children say it wasn't the money, it was the time, it was the value, it was the energy that my parents or my loved ones or my friend put into me. So I always tell them, hey, if you're walking out of this building today, you can put some of these practices into place. You're saying the same thing. Hey, what are we going to change today to get you to your goal down the way? I love that.
I had a mentor that sadly passed away a few years ago, but he there was 2 things he said, and he's like, what do you want people, when we would talk about business and everything all the time, and he's like, what do you want people to say about you at your funeral?
Yes.
And whose life will be infinitely better because you succeed?
You were in it.
Answer those 2 questions.
Yeah. And I can see how you are. So we just got a couple of minutes. So John, in lunch break, your life journey, what would you like to say that maybe you haven't said yet, if our listeners are out there, maybe they're going through a tough time? Because you went through it. You went through the pandemic. What would you say, bringing in your faith? Because, what would you say to them out there?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot. I would say that humans have a really strong innate ability to overcome adversity for survival, but only a select few who are willing to work for it will overcome adversity for success. So it's easy to stay alive. Humans, so many people don't like their life, right?
True, John.
But they still, they don't turn the switch off, right? Suicide's a big issue.
Huge.
But for how many people dislike their life, they don't actually go that route, right? Because we do have an ability to overcome adversity to survive, but not to thrive and succeed. So a lot of people stop pushing forward on their path because they don't have that ability to succeed or to overcome adversity in the form of success. And if they realized that they were overestimating everybody else's ability and that they just stayed focused and clear on what they wanted and they defined that purpose of what they wanted, they would.
Can I ask you a question? Because I've been working on this a lot lately, and it's the risk versus the reward, because what stands in between is fear. Mm-hmm. So if you face that, and you're obviously getting the reward from the risk you're making, how does John Thompson overcome that fear? If let's say there's a fear, because I think each one of us, fear is one of those natural things we're born with. It's like, oh, don't, I might fall, I might get hurt myself. So how will you overcome that? Because I always believe that as the risk looks there's a reward, but the thing that keeps people tied up is the fear in between.
Yeah, that was taught for sure. I wouldn't say I'm naturally very risk adverse. I feel like I am now, but I don't feel like I was naturally. But every business book, everything's why reading and education is so important to keep yourself, and you're never too successful to keep reading the books and keep getting the coaching and pay for coaches to help you buy speed and move forward at quantum leaps. But I learned earlier that if you're not fearful at all with what you're doing, you're probably on the wrong path.
True.
So if you are fearful, that's a good indication that you are on the right path, and you need to get comfortable moving towards that. We live in too much of that's not the ethos of the United States anymore. We live in a very comfort-based society. We live in a very technologically advanced society. That's not our ethos. That's not our culture anymore, and it's a problem. And it's going to be a bigger problem in the future, I think. Well, we're too used to comfort, and so we feel fear. Fear is a form of discomfort. And so now, if you sense fear, you're thinking you're on the wrong path, that it should be easier. Everyone on social media, everything looks so easy. I feel like, a heater in my car is not good enough anymore. Now I need, seat heaters as well.
Right?
God forbid my butt is cold while I've got heat blowing in my face, right? So we are just very accustomed to comfort, and that can be good. Technology and all these things can make our life a lot better. The washing machine and all these things were like beautiful inventions that keep people out of doing like super redundant tasks for their whole life. So they can use their purpose, but at the same time, lead their purpose. But at the same time, those things in a state of comfort will just keep you stagnant, and you won't go anywhere.
You go back even to some of the things our country has been through. It's the easy thing for status quo. It's the hard thing to take a reward and see or take the risk and see the reward out there. I always go back to David. I love it because David went out to see his brothers on the battlefield. And when they all ran from Goliath, he ran too. But when he got back to the camp, he said, as he heard the other soldiers saying, yeah, but remember, King Saul said whoever defeats the Philistine will get his daughter and tax-free. And David said, what? All of a sudden the reward became I always think he's a young teenage man, all of a sudden the reward's like, wait a second, the girl and the gold. It's like 2 G's are driving young men. We all know that. And the girl and the gold. And people gave him a hard time. You can't do this. And he says, well, maybe I can. I killed the bear and the lion. It's like he was bringing in past experience saying, yeah, I'm not so fearful, but the reward will help drive people on. I always.
But those people haven't changed over the year, over the generations. Those are the crabs. Those are the people that you need if you're trying to be more. It doesn't matter what it is, successful in health and fitness or business. You very likely have to change your environment and the circle of your influence. I just did a post on this the other day, but it's like there's a reason they say if you have 9 overweight, broke, or drunk friends, you're likely the 10th one, right? You surround yourself with those people, and so you have to change your environment because they will pull you back down. They not only won't encourage you, they will relentlessly discourage you from moving forward because you are reminding them of the action they're not taking in their own life.
The mind has a negative bias, and it always turns that. Mike and I, we talk about that all the time. It's to help you realize danger.
Yeah.
but the negative bias could be that one thing in your life that keeps you stuck.
Well, I think as you're saying that, John, I'm thinking about like, well, everybody I know, and it is 100% is the people you surround yourself with. Almost everybody I know, Tom's one of them, and several other business owner friends of mine and stuff. Like, I'm like, well, I think there's hope because I'm looking at like the generation, and like a lot of my friends have kids and raising kids, and like I intentionally don't make it easy on my kids. I intentionally, like my son came to me the other day. He's like, "Can I have a phone?" I was like, "Dude, you're 9. You don't need a phone." It's like, "Come to me when you're 18 and we'll talk." And it's harder for me, and it's harder for my wife to be that way. But by doing the hard things, we're preparing them for more success down the road. But I'm like, okay, well, I see a lot of my friends following suit and doing the same thing. We're intentionally not making it easier for our kids, but that's the people that I'm surrounding myself with, right? So there's a whole other group of people that are, well, let me make this easy for my kids. You think you're doing your kids a favor, you're doing them a service, and you're actually doing them a disservice because of all the things you just said.
I just saw the other day someone said, prepare your kid for the path. Don't prepare them for the path. Don't prepare the path. Right?
Yes.
So with and that's so unpopular today, right? Because iPads and everything are the cheapest babysitters parents have ever had access to, and it literally hurts my heart when we're at like a restaurant or something. I see kids set up at another table with their iPads and their headphones on, so the parents are at this other table eating, and I'm like, you're not doing that for the kids. You're doing that for yourself, right? Like,
well, we were at breakfast the other morning on Saturday, which you asked me what we were doing. We went to breakfast, and my kids were just kind of going crazy. And I was like, my wife says, should I just give them the phone or what? I was like, no, we always said we weren't going to do that. Yeah. And because, again, sure, it makes it easier on us, but it's not setting them up for success.
Yeah, when does it make it easier on you, though? Does it make it easier on you now?
Yeah.
Is it going to make it easier on you when they're 17 and they're off the rails at this point?
And they're addicted to that because what's the next
kids
addiction?
They have no concept of dopamine. They don't know when their brain's being lit up by stuff, right? They're constantly chasing dopamine. The parents are constantly giving them sweets or an iPhone or some other form of a dopamine hit, and the kids are chasing it, and they're wondering why is my kid's behavior so bad, and they think it's a lack of discipline, which it probably is to a degree, but it's no, your kid's literally a drug addict and you don't know it. Yes. And you are causing it because your kid has not even close to the emotional intelligence they need to make these decisions for themselves. They can't choose this right now. You need to make this decision for them now and tell them no. And that's hard because you yourself, you can live differently as whether you're an entrepreneur or anything else, and say, I'm going to stay away from these people. I'm going to live my life differently. When you're choosing to have your kids be the outliers, they are the kid that does not have the phone. They're the kid, and you're like, oh, are they going to be like the dorky one or the one that's made fun of? Like, choose which one you want to have. Do you want to move them into a life of, and I'm not being dramatic here, addiction and all these things that are potentially going to make their adulthood way, way worse. For a few years of them not being the kid who doesn't have the phone. And now we're getting into another thing of, is it okay for them to have the phone as long as they're on social media? Like every person who works for tech or social media says my kid won't have a phone to their 16 or 18.
Which is funny because we own an IT company too. So
so you get it. Yeah, we know that social media companies, they're not designed to get you off the platform. They're designed to keep you on the platform. So what is the number one way to keep someone on something? You keep them addicted to it. And that's not like some grand idea. We figured out that Facebook's trying to keep you on. Of course they're trying to keep you on. You sell advertising dollars based on the average user's minutes per day on the platform. So of course that's how they sell ad revenue. And so you are the product as the user, and then the advertising platform is the dollars that get input into the company. So you staying on the platform is, and we're way off topic again. But
no,
that's all right.
I
love it. Well, what I will say,
podcast all of a sudden.
No, we could
well,
absolutely.
Mike,
but
can we drag this into the ministry matters? Or,
but I want to say, John, we just met.
That meant
no. No, we can and we will. John, we just met, and I'm like, I like this guy. Like, I feel like we have a lot more to talk about on the other shows, and a lot in common. But it's been awesome having you here and having this discussion, and I think we're going to continue some of this off air. So
we are. John, thank you so much for being on lunch break.
Thank you.
And hope you enjoyed it. Go out there, subscribe, do what you need to. And hey, if you're looking for an animal to rescue, Lucky's Rescue.
Yeah, you just rescued one.
I just rescued
Not from
a dog.
Lucky's,
Not
but
from Lucky's. He just had to call me out on the air. I just don't know why he had to do this. But if John,
I gave him a hard time for you, John.
he did. So
And Meredith.
If you're our audience, you know this goes on all the time because Mike's always who he is.
Yeah.
God bless.
God bless.
Great day.